Humans, this is Dr. Kai. How are you? Let me see if I can get some good music going while we wait for some people to join the stream. I don't know how this happened. Apparently it told everyone that the stream was up and coming and it's got likes and comments already. Harry Anthony, will this be saved on YouTube when it's time for the jump? Yeah, but this is probably going to have nothing to do with the jump, so I don't know why you're asking that. I'm just going to start some music playing. So, well, yeah, on that program, but on a different screen. The content will start very shortly. If you want to skip ahead maybe a minute or two, if you're watching this after the fact, then the content will start. I'm just waiting for a few people to join the stream, so I'm not talking to myself. Now, the question is, where is my music? Music. There we go. Let's do some stellar drone. Eternity. Start with eternity. And ultra deep field. Okay. Make sure it's not too loud. Just making sure my voice is louder. It seems to be, but you can tell me on the stream. I am reading the comments. If the music is too loud, please let me know. I've got 6 people watching. I do apologise about the crying baby in the background. We are currently looking at... Well, anybody want to guess? I could tell you the name of the planet, it's written right here, but which part of the planet we're looking at? Thanks, Andy. Music might get louder. It is stellar drone. It tends to do that. That is correct, Harry. That is Wales, UK. I'm actually here because I live in Manchester, UK, which I believe is here. I'm not sure. Can you see the cursor? Once we've established if you can see the cursor or not, I am going to begin talking about what we're here to do today. Yeah, it's pretty tiny. I'll start over here so you can follow it. But, yeah, that's where Manchester is. The music just got a lot louder, so I am going to turn it down slightly. I can actually see the stream myself, so anyway. Alright, so let's begin. Now, the reason I'm making this is because I actually want to write about something similar in the newsletter, so it would be good to have some footage to go with what I'm going to write about. A question I've always wanted to answer is something that, when I've been playing around with Space Engine, and I'm on my lifelong quest to try and comprehend everything, and obviously that's never going to be physically possible, but there is a ladder to climb, because we can comprehend something. We can comprehend like a minimum distance, a minimum size, a minimum thing to fathom. And we can work our way up step by step until we can comprehend it all. Now, again, I'm not being literal here. We'll never be able to fully comprehend the size of the universe. You can't actually picture every square foot of the entire universe. But you can slowly but surely start to learn the differences between different scales. And, like, for example, I'm going to start with a mile. A mile on this is about the length of one of the sticky out bits of the cursor, one of the lines of the cross. That's about a mile. I mean, 12 miles is about that long. I've just done a quick comparison with Google Maps before I started the stream. So that's about 1/12 of that, maybe a bit less, but we can comprehend a mile. Even if you're in a city, it's quite common to be able to see a stretch of road that's a mile long, beginning to end. You can see the entire mile. If something's at the end of that mile, you can make it out. People, whatever, you know, you'll be able to just about make them out. I mean, I'm not saying you can comprehend an entire mile in your head, But let's just start there. We have to start somewhere. Now, this is not going to be an exact science because there's so many different ways you can measure what counts as being comprehensible and what doesn't. And I'm sure I'm going to make a proper, more well thought out video about this in the future. But just for now, let's start with a mile. Now, right now, according to Space Engine, we are 250 miles above that. And we can still just about make out what a mile is. So I'm going to say that we're starting at the second level of comprehension. We're at scale number 2. And we're going to count up and up and up in as many ways that I can creatively think about and as many ways as you might suggest on the stream. And see if we can get all the way to being able to visualize the entire galaxy. And we'll have a number, a rough number. Say, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to give us a rough number of how many scales of magnitude we have to climb before we can picture the entire universe. Well, sorry, I take it back. The entire galaxy. The universe would be saved for another video. Again, tell me if the music gets too loud. So I'm going to start moving now. I would say that the next scale of comprehension from here is probably going to be about the size of the Earth. Now, if we're 250 miles up now, that means the width of the screen is maybe a few hundred miles, like maybe 500 miles. So already we're seeing something beyond beyond the 250 that we're at. So excuse me if I find it hard to find the words to describe what we're doing, but as you can imagine, this isn't a vocabulary that we're really taught. So I would say once we can see the whole Earth, we've already crossed another scale of magnitude. Where we were before and where we are now is so far that we cannot picture it. We cannot picture that difference. Or if we could have pictured what 250 miles looks like, what we are at now is more than that. It's more than that and a whole scale of comprehension. So we're now at that scale number 3. I'm going to start writing this down because otherwise I'll lose count. So I would say 3 now. Now, let's make sure we still have the Earth selected. The next one, I'm going to pick arbitrarily. Now, tell me in the comments if I've skipped too far. But I'm going to say that, okay, we're able to like kind of get in our... The radius of the Earth is 12,000 miles, right? We were thinking about like a kind of a little gap of 12 miles, and now we're at 12,000 miles, 2 steps up. So the distance to the moon is quite a lot further than that, 12,000 to 250,000. So let's just say that the distance between the Earth and the moon and being able to see that difference, that separation, is just another scale. So we're at scale number 4 now, where we can see the Earth and the moon. Now, it's hard to pick. You can kind of keep all that in your head, but if you want to keep the next step, you want to go to the point where you can't keep what you just did in your head anymore, I would say it's when you can't even see that circle. Now we've gone so far again that we've lost track. That's what I mean by a scale of comprehension. So we're at number 5 now. We can already see the orbit of Venus over here, the orbit of Mercury over here, Mars, and I don't know what that is. That's something else. This is Jupiter now. I'm going to go probably into the point where we can barely even see the inner orbits now. Okay, in fact, at that point we can pretty much see the whole solar system. So let's just say now we're at scale of comprehension number 6. So in order to just visualize the entire solar system, we need to break our brain 6 times. Does that make sense? For all the people just joining the stream, I am counting the scales of comprehension, the amount of times we have to break our brain in order to visualize the actual size of the galaxy and the journey we're about to do in Distant Worlds 2. So yeah, we've broken our brain 6 times already, and now we can see the whole solar system. Now I would say again, the next thing that we have to do, now I can't fathom the distance between where we just were and now basically, which is where we can barely make out the orbit lines. There's a lot of comprehends going on. You can make a drinking game out of this. Every time I say the word comprehend or scale, just take a shot. Okay, and I do not take responsibility for what happens. So right, now we're at a whole new level of comprehension. I'd say we're at level number 7. We are at the point where if we rotate around the solar system, we should actually be able to start seeing some of the other local stars just starting to move. If I go this way, for example, we should see Sirius. Well, that's the galactic core in that direction. And there's Alpha Centauri over there. If you keep an eye on it, look, you can just about see it moving, thanks to parallax. If we keep going, we should see Sirius somewhere near Barnard's Loop. There we go, that's Sirius over there. That's the second brightest star in the sky, if you don't count the planets. And we're at comprehension level... I knew I'd lose track. This is number 7, right? That was number 7 before. This is number 8. Oh my goodness, I knew I'd lose track. Anyway, the exact count is not important, and I'm sure someone's gonna fill me in. But that's it. So we have to break our brain 8 times. Thank you, Andy. 8 times in order to just be able to make out the parallax to the nearest stars, which to Sirius is about 9 light years. To Alpha Centauri over here, which you can just see moving over there, is 4 light years or so. So now I'm going to go quite a bit further. I'm going to take it so that we're about Sirius's distance away. Now we're at the point where you can see loads of stars moving. It almost seems like we're kind of circling around. Look, if we can go behind Alpha Centauri here. And again, that's just like a whole new level of comprehension. Just if you were able to fathom number 8, you're not going to be able to fathom this, that's for sure. And you can see loads of stars moving now. So we're at number 9. And we are still only about 8 light years away from Earth. We still got another 100,000 or so to go. So, you know, don't go anywhere. But yeah, this is what the local stars look like. The very nearest stars, you could call our local group in terms of stars. You know, you've got Lumen number 16, you've got Alpha Centauri, you've got Sirius, you've got Barnard Star, you've got Vega somewhere off in that direction. Let's see if we can find it. That's probably Vega there. Oh, I'm good. Oh, I'm good. You see, if you play around with Space Engine long enough, you get such a good idea of how the stars work. You can, you know, you've got more knowledge than actual astrophysicists. In some sense. Well, in a small way, but an important way. But anyway, look, I'm going to start moving left and right. This is, if we were to travel at this speed, which is about 1 Alpha Centauri per second, so what is 100,000 divided by 4? That's about 250,000, no, 25,000 seconds, divided by 3.5, let's say. So that is about 7, it will take about 7 hours just to cross the galaxy. So, yeah. Now what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to, instead of zooming out, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to get Earth back into view again. Sol, I mean. And now I'm just going to kind of head towards the galaxy. I'm going to go just long enough to the point where it feels like we've lost track of how far we've gone. So we're still quite close. We're kind of passing through a bit of a cluster here. I'm just going to zoom right through it. This is like kind of a cluster we can probably see. And yeah, we're now like maybe 1,000 light years away. That's probably a good place to call it another one, because I've already lost track of how far we've gone. It's time to pick another music track, so give me a second. Blah 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 blah. Look for something that rings a bell. Let's just start again. Don't want to bore you guys too much. So, right, so now we're at scale of comprehension number 9. And we've gone 1,000 light years from Sol. Let me just select it again, because all this clicking I've lost it. So, there we go. We are... Did I select it? Come on. I have to click OK in this game. Yep, there we go. So, we are over 1,000 light years away. Now maybe it's time to kind of pan out a bit and just leave the galactic plane so we can kind of keep track of what we're doing. So I'm going straight up. And I'm going to then look directly down. Now, let's just say, I don't know if I'm looking directly down, but let's just say that's 1,000 light years, yeah? Just keep our eye on it. That actually feels a bit wrong, because if that's 100,000, then... Okay, that's about 1/100th there. So that's 1/100th of the distance that we're actually going to be doing. Now, in Space Engine, it's put us quite a bit closer. We're supposed to be full 2/3 of the way out from the galactic core, so we should probably be around here, but let's not question that. So, but in Elite Dangerous, we are more likely around here. I'm sure you can see the mouse moving. Now, the distance between there and there sorry, let's go back to where we were. The distance between there and there, about 1,000 light years, is 9 levels of comprehension up. You have to break your brain 9 times in order to just understand that tiny little smidgen of a distance there. Now, because you can see it, and now you can see that, I'm going to say that it's 10 levels of comprehension that you have to endure. I've said it now 57,000 times, so hopefully you're not completely drunk if you are playing the drinking game. But in terms of scales of comprehension, you have to break your brain 10 times. You first have to get into your head what a mile is. Then you have to get into your head what 250 miles, as we called it, just about high enough above the earth that you can actually see a mile still before it becomes too small to be able to make out. Then we counted the being able to see the whole earth itself. Then we counted being able to like if you can get that far in your comprehension, then you're not going to be able to understand the distance between the earth and the moon. But if you can understand the distance between the earth and the moon, you're not going to be able to understand the distance you have to travel in order to not even be able to make out the distance between the earth and the moon. And then if you can even comprehend that, then you're not going to be able to comprehend, because at that point you can see some of the solar system, but seeing the whole solar system is already beyond the scale of comprehension then again. And then zooming out so where you can't even see the solar system, and you can barely make out the parallax of the nearest stars, that's another scale of comprehension. Then we zoom out even more so you can actually see the local group of stars. You can actually move behind Alpha Centauri if you rotate around the solar system. That's another scale. Then we decided to just head out into the galaxy, disappear into it as far as we could go, while still keeping track of how far we've gone. But at some point, all the stars, it all just became a blur, and then we called that another scale. Now we've come up so high, that was about 1,000 light years. Now we've come up so high that we can just about make out 1,000 light years. Probably one of the prongs of the crosshair is about 1,000 light years. Now, crossing the entire galaxy is doing that 100 times. In the case of Beagle Point, 65 times. Either way, 65 is one of those big numbers that you can just barely comprehend. And that's it. So let's say you break your brain 10 times, and you can understand the journey we're doing. So I'm going to talk about this more tomorrow in my pre-launch speech. But it is really humbling, and it's really quite amazing what we're doing. We're doing something so fantastic, so beautiful, so epic. We're heading out into something not only can we not comprehend, we cannot comprehend if you, like, a billion times over, 10 billion times over, 10 to the power of 10 is 10 billion. So 10 billion times over we can't comprehend it. That's just, we're going out there into something so big and so limitless and so endless that... You're distracting me, by the way. It's hard for me to speak so epically when I'm reading questions, but... And in somewhere in there, in all that epicness, is things to find that we cannot even... I don't want to say comprehend, because that'd just be cheesy by now. That we cannot even picture, and it's going to be so cool. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Earth. And I'm going to tilt... point towards the galactic core, whichever direction it's in. Turn off the orbit lines, and I am going to increase our speed gradually and cross the galaxy. Now what I'll do, just to help, now it's not going to look good on YouTube unfortunately, but I'm going to turn the stars up a bit. Let's say turn it up to about 10.5, and that, by the way, oh, we're upside down, so that should be Sagittarius dwarf galaxy up there. And what we're going to do is we're going to just do the journey here right now. I'm going to try and make it last about 3 or 4 minutes, and when we've travelled 65,000 light years, I'm going to find a planet, I'm going to land on it, and we're going to call it Beagle Point. And then we're going to have a nice evening, and while I'm doing that, I'll be answering any questions you guys may have about the expedition. So right now we're travelling at 35 light years per second, so it should take us approximately an hour to cross the galaxy at this speed. Now just look how many stars we travel every second through, past, whatever. And obviously I've artificially brightened the stars, because these stars you wouldn't be able to see. Like, you're being able to see, for example, the dimmer M stars. much further away than you normally would be able to see them with the naked eye. But then again, we're traveling at 35 light years per second, so nothing makes sense with what we're doing right now. And while I have a moment, I'm going to answer a question. Corey Porter. How will things work? Will a waypoint be placed in the Discord for a place to go? Yes. It will be placed in every possible way, so we're going to announce it. I'm going to announce it on Twitter, if you follow me there. It's going to be announced in FleetCom. There will be a command, probably, I think it's exclamation mark waypoint or WP. Probably all of them will work. I'm not the guy doing that, so you'll have to check with maybe Neotron or one of the guys there. And also we'll just make sure it gets disseminated in all the places we can disseminate it. So the first waypoint will be announced 1 hour before launch tomorrow, I think. That's what Eramis said. Things may change. You're welcome, Hunter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just increase the speed. I'm going to double it, triple it, let's say to 100 light years per second. Now it's quite unimaginable how many stars we're passing every second. And just look at the core. Remember, the core is just like the smallest little circle in the center of the whole galaxy, and you cannot even see it growing at this speed. 400 billion is a very big number, in case you didn't realize. Can we join the launch and then go back to the bubble to finish some engineering stuff? Of course you can. I'm probably going to just log out as soon as the launch is done and have like a good long sleep, because I'm going to be up till 6 o'clock in the morning probably dealing with all the last minute things I have to deal with. Okay. Whoa, that was 1,000. I just skipped to 1,000 suddenly. So let's triple it again. Let's go to 335. Probably it's just like an encoder mess right now, but now at this speed at least you can see the core growing. Now it's going to take us several weeks just to get this far, but in this video we can do it in a matter of seconds. There goes a nebula. How many light years to the final destination? Well, that is quite a well-known answer, but I'm happy to tell you it's 65,000 light years. Now the total journey is probably going to be more than 100,000 because we're not going to go in a straight line. But I haven't worked it out. Eramis probably knows the answer to that. Now we're in the core. In order to make things a bit more manageable, I'm just going to stop and turn the brightness of the core down a bit. 1.8 sounds reasonable. We're currently 21,000 light years from where we started, so we're still only a third of the way there. It's been a while since I've heard someone talk about the sheer scale of our tiny Milky Way the way I do. Most people look at me like I'm crazy. Well, I don't. It's like, I don't know, there's not... I would say, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to put this. There are people that just don't care about these things, but most people would still be absolutely blown away when you tell them. And you can teach them, like... that's why I want to make a series about it, because I think everyone, if they just stumble across a video like this, would be like, wow, that's pretty cool. Just once in their life, they can try and understand things bigger than themselves. And maybe not just once in their lives. I'm being a bit cynical here. I think most people will be interested, but people like me and people like you and people like us, we love this stuff, and it's absolutely a great thing to do. I'm going to slow down a bit now because we're now at 45,000 light years. It's a great life goal. Like, we've got all the tools now that we haven't had in the entire history of humanity to help us actually start to fathom these things. This space engine that I'm playing now, look at what you can use it for. You can play about with it all day long. Zoom in, zoom out, change speed, change brightness, change... If you put on VR, you can actually change the size of yourself, like the separation between your eyes. And when you move your head, you're swathing through the stars. You can do all this, so you can actually start to build up a picture of how big the universe actually is. Okay, let's answer some more questions. Any insight into what activities we'll see on the journey and how much straying from the path will be encouraged? Anything you can think of is the kind of thing we're going to think of. We haven't actually, believe it or not, got anything written down. We've thrown around ideas and we're just going to kind of come up with them as it goes and then leave everyone to organise it. And it's just one of those things that's just going to naturally evolve. It's going to be beautiful. Things like, oh, there's a rumor that there's something really cool here. Can someone go out and find it? And or whether the geologists are going to be sending out missions. Oh, can you go and start gathering information over there? Or can you go and try and find one of these? Off the top of my head, I can't answer that just because I'm so exhausted. So, yeah. Just let it all be a surprise. Oh, I probably should have muted my phone before doing a live stream. That is lesson number 1 in being a good live streamer. As a geologist, is there anything I should know? I know Madraptor is leading us a bit. I guess I'll just keep an eye on Geology Channel and FleetCom Discord. Yeah, you're just going to have to wait for instructions. Your goal, if you want to be a good geologist, is to focus on geology and try and find some really cool geological stuff. And maybe report as much of it as you can. Submit it onto the form that we're going to be releasing tomorrow. Every little thing you find, and just help them gather data. And also, they might be opening even more forms. Alright, we are now arriving at approximately the distance that we are going to be travelling. Now, this is how far we've travelled. It's taken us only a few minutes. Music has stopped, so I'm going to find a planet. There you go, 65,000 light years. Let's stop there. Let's do a search for an M-class star. Does anybody know off the top of their head, Pallani, what is it? Is it an MO? Probably is an MO. And it's only got 1 star, so let's try an M1 with 11 stars. Let's go to this. Okay. Let's see. Whoa, what's with the flickering, dude? That's trippy. Okay, so we've got a Selena. It's 1.5 light minutes. That's pretty much a good analogy. It's even got its own little wonky moon. I like this planet. So, this is Beagle Point in Space Engine. This is 65,000 light years. And I'm going to land. My frame rate is going to tank a bit. Ooh. And this is where we're going. Okay, guys? So, yeah. That's an M-class star. That is looking back from the journey we came. That's the other side of the galaxy, just over the horizon. And I am Dr. Kai. Thank you very, very much for watching. And I'll see you all tomorrow.